Hi there. Welcome. This Sunday is the last Sunday in October, which means that it is Reformation Sunday. The Sunday right before October 31st is always Reformation Sunday. And I've made this little video to introduce you to the scriptures and the hymns that we will be using on Sunday to help us all prepare for worship. First of all, here are the scriptures for Reformation Sunday. Our Hebrew Bible reading will be from the book of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 31 and verses 31 through 34. The psalm of the day is Psalm 46. The epistle reading is from Paul's letter to the Romans, chapter 3, verses 19 through 28. And the gospel reading is from the Gospel according to John, chapter 8, verses 31 through 36. I would encourage you to read through these scriptures in preparation for worship. We use the New Revised Standard Version in our church services, but read them in whatever translation is most comfortable for you so that you can get a sense of those scriptures prior to worship. Now we're going to talk about our hymns and our psalm for Sunday, and doing that in the spirit of this verse from 1 Corinthians. St. Paul writes, "I'll pray in the spirit, but I'll pray with my mind too. I'll sing a psalm in the spirit, but I'll sing the psalm with my mind too." And that's in 1 Corinthians 14:15. And so we want to sing with understanding. I think it's a good thing to understand what it is we are singing before we sing it. And also, if any of the hymns on a given Sunday are unfamiliar, this would be a way to familiarize yourselves with them prior to worship. Our first hymn, our hymn of approach, this Sunday will be "I Greet Thee, Who My Sure Redeemer Art." The tune is Toulon. And you notice in the worship bulletin every Sunday, we have the hymn number on the left-hand side. In the center, we'll have the first line of the hymn. And then on the right-hand side of the page, you'll see a word or words in all caps, but small caps, like as you see on the screen here. That is the hymn tune name. And the reason we do that is it's impossible to sing a hymn without singing it to a tune. A hymn, strictly speaking, is a poem. A hymn is not a piece of music. It's a poem that is then set to a hymn tune so that we can sing it. And hymn tunes and the hymn texts, more often than not, come from different times. They come from different people. The hymn texts tend to be written by poets, and the hymn tunes tend to be written by composers. And we don't tend to have people writing hymn text and hymn tune, the same person writing both, although we do have an example of that this Sunday. So it's important to know not just the first line of the hymn or the title of the hymn that we're singing, but the tune name. We know what tune we are singing that hymn to. So this tune is called Toulon. The text of this hymn, "I Greet Thee, Who My Sure Redeemer Art," comes from the Strasbourg Psalter of 1545. This hymn was once attributed to John Calvin because he was instrumental in putting together the Strasbourg Psalter. This obviously is not a psalm setting. It is a freely composed hymn, and some people in the past have attributed it to Calvin, but we really don't know who wrote it. It may have been John Calvin. It could have been someone else there in the Reformed Church in Strasbourg. The tune comes from a little bit later. The tune comes from the Genevan Psalter of 1551, and this tune is actually a shortened version of the tune Genevan 124. So the tune that was this tune was written for Psalm 124 in the Genevan Psalter, and it was shortened a little bit so that this particular set of words could be sung to it. The translator of the hymn text is Elizabeth Lee Smith, who lived from 1817 to 1898. So this hymn, of course, was originally written in French, and then it was translated into English by Elizabeth Lee Smith. The composer of the tune was Louis Bourgeois, and you see his dates there, 1510 to 1561. And this tune was for the 1551 Genevan Psalter, originally, as we said, for Psalm 124. And then it was adapted for use to this text. So the text was from a few years earlier. So we're going to listen to it. We'll play through the tune one whole time through, and then we'll put the words on the screen so that you can read along or sing along as the music plays. Our psalm of the day is Psalm 46. And the psalms in the Bible are meant to be sung. Using the psalms just as scripture readings does violence to their character and their intent. Psalms are meant to be sung. The Psalter was the hymnal of ancient Israel, and it was the hymnal of the early church. And at the time of the Reformation, it became the hymnal of the Reformed churches and remained that way for centuries. The Reformed tradition is a psalm singing tradition. Presbyterians, being part of that Reformed tradition, sang only psalms for centuries. In fact, the Church of Scotland did not publish a hymnary, that is, a collection that had hymns and not just psalms, until 1899. Today's psalm we will sing using plain chant or plain song, and the congregation, all you have to sing is the antiphon, which is like a refrain. It's just one line. And at the beginning, the cantor, and that's going to be me on Sunday, the cantor will sing the antiphon, the refrain, once by himself, and then raise his hand to indicate that you are to join in. And then after every few verses of the psalm, it's every 3 or 4 verses, I think, the cantor will raise his hand, indicating it's time for everyone to sing the antiphon. So we're going to do that here in just a second. I'll put the antiphon on the screen. I'll sing it once, and then so you can get a sense of it. And then I'll sing it again, and I ask you to join me on that so that you can familiarize yourself with it. And the great thing about a video is, of course, you can run the video back and listen to it again as many times as you want. I'll sing the antiphon once, and then I'll invite you to sing it with me. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. And now with me. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. Our sequence hymn on Sunday is All People That on Earth Do Dwell. The sequence hymn is the hymn that comes right before the gospel reading. We stand to sing that hymn, and then we remain standing for the reading of the gospel. All People That on Earth Do Dwell, the tune to which we will sing it is called Old Hundredth. And the author of the text is a man named William Keith. We don't know what year William Keith was born. We believe that he was born in Scotland, and then he died in 1594. William Keith was one of the Marian exiles in Geneva, one of the English-speaking Christians who fled England and fled to Geneva during the time of the Reformation and learned from John Calvin, and especially from John Knox, who was the pastor of the English-speaking congregation there in Geneva. When the Genevan Psalter was produced, William Keith and others translated those psalm versions into English to produce what we call the Anglo-Genevan Psalter. And William Keith did about 25 of these for the Anglo-Genevan Psalter, and this is one of them. This is his version of Psalm 100. So the tune source is from the Genevan Psalter, and it was written by Louis Bourgeois, who the same person who wrote our first hymn today. This was written for for Psalm 100 in the Genevan Psalter, and then Keith translated it, did a poetic translation into English that would fit with that same tune. And the reason we call it Old Hundredth is because it's the musical setting of the 100th Psalm from the old version of the Psalter, that is, the original Anglo-Genevan Psalter. There have been many, many Psalters, of course, in English since then. This is the old one. This is the first one, so we call it Old Hundredth. Again, we'll play through the tune one time. This is a tune you all know, I'm pretty sure, but we'll play through the tune one time. And then we'll put the words on the screen so that you can read along or sing along with the hymn, which is a paraphrase of Psalm 100, All People That on Earth Do Dwell. Our last hymn today, our sending hymn, is A Mighty Fortress is Our God. The tune to which we sing this is called Ein feste Burg, which simply is a mighty fortress in German. The author of this text is Martin Luther, the great reformer, and you see his dates there, 1483 to 1546, and Luther wrote this hymn in 1529. The composer of the tune is also Martin Luther, and he also wrote the tune in 1529. As I said earlier, this is pretty rare. It's pretty rare to have the same person write the hymn text and the hymn tune. So obviously this tune was written specifically for this text. And the text is based on Psalm 46, which is our psalm of the day today for Reformation Sunday. So again, we'll play the tune one time through, and then we'll put the words on the screen for you to read along or sing along. right, so we do hope you will join us on Sunday for the service for the Lord's Day, celebrating Reformation Sunday. That is this Sunday, October 27th at 10:45 a.m. Union Presbyterian Church in Fort Madison, Iowa. We are at 719 Avenue F in Fort Madison. You can get more information on our website, unionpresfm.org, and there you can find, if you click on our events page, you'll even find a map there to the church and more information about our service, about Sunday school, which starts at 9:30, and all sorts of other information about the church. If you can't be with us in person, you can worship with us online on Facebook. Just go on Facebook and look for Union Presbyterian Church, Fort Madison, just like it appears on your screen there. Thank you so much. God bless you. I do hope you will join us for a wonderful worship experience this Reformation Sunday.